Hello, my name is Katy Moyer. I am a Beachbody Live Master Trainer, and today we have an exciting guest. Her name is Lindsey Coleman, and she is also a Beachbody Live Master Trainer. But one of the great things about the Beachbody Live formats is that we say you don't need any experience to come. So you can come to a Turbo Kick Live training, Insanity Live, P90X Live, get trained, and then you can go teach. And that's pretty exciting because there's not a lot of formats out there that you don't need any experience for. However, all of a sudden you're going to get trained, you're going to start to practice, and then you're going to start to think, okay, now I want to go teach this class somewhere. How do I do that? Where do I go? And it's a common question that I know I get. I know Lindsey gets it pretty often as well. But what I thought we would talk today about is just talk about, okay, so now you're trained in a Beachbody Live format, let's just say Turbo Kick, for instance, and you look up a schedule online, and you're thinking, I really want to teach for a big box gym, like a 24-hour, a lifetime, or Lindsey is actually a group exercise director for in Colorado. It's called Colorado Athletic Club. It's an awesome club, but it's going to be a club where there's multiple locations. And I thought having her experience with interviewing instructors and also trying to figure out what it really looks highly upon when an instructor maybe emails and says this, or if an instructor does this or that, and what a Group X director is really looking for from an instructor who wants a position at their club, that why wouldn't we, not only talk to one of the best, but also talk to someone who is a Group X director. So welcome, Lindsey. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me, Katy. I love being here.
Awesome. Well, if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of jump right in and just say if somebody looks up Colorado Athletic Club, and we'll just use that for the example, but it could be, if you're watching this, it could be any big chain health club or even a karate studio, but someone looks up Colorado Athletic Club and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I would love to teach, and I just got the information offline. They just Googled Colorado Athletic Club. What do you think is probably the first thing that they should do when they're trying to get a teaching position at a gym like Colorado Athletic Club?
So most of the gyms that are not big box gyms are going to have online the information about who is the group fitness director for each location, or if there's a regional director, they'll have that on there too. So one of the kind of good things about going to a gym that might not be as corporate as like Lifetime or 24, where they're everywhere, is that information is available for you so that you can actually look online or call the club and ask who manages your group fitness department. Now, that's not to say that you can't do that for the other gyms as well, because that you can. And quite honestly, that is your first step, is to figure out who it is that you need to talk to in order to be a teacher for the club. However, I always say that once you find that name, you can email that person, and you should email that person. But I think that the best way, the first step to make an impression on somebody is to come to their class, because almost every group fitness director is a teacher as well. And so they understand the struggle. They've been exactly where you as a new teacher has been, and has been trying to get hired as well. So I think if you come to their class and talk to them and say, hey, I just got certified in this format and I'm really, really excited, and I just wanted to come and introduce myself. And maybe not even say, I'm really interested in teaching here, and kind of making it a sales pitch from the beginning. Just to introduce yourself and get your face in front of them, I think should be your first step. So that way, when you email them with a pitch later, they know who you are, and then you're not just like a nameless, faceless person in the sea of emails that a group fitness director gets every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they get tons of emails. So I've always been a proponent of someone showing up to a Group X director's class, because it not only shows that you care, but that you took the extra time to go and meet someone and put a face to a name, that when they see that name pop up in their email, they're kind of like, how do I know this name? I can't remember. And so that's a great tip. So my next question then is, now that you've gone to a group exercise manager's class, and you've introduced yourself, and now you're thinking, okay, I want to email the director. What kind of email, as this is your first foot in the door, what email would you say is really going to stand out amongst the crowd? Because I know what I say. I always say, don't say that you have to have my Insanity Live class on your schedule and it's so great and it's awesome and I rock and my format rocks, so you got to have us, because otherwise the group X director's like, well, we've been doing pretty well without you so far. So, and I'm sure they're not thinking that, but if you were to get an email from a Group X instructor, what would stand out for you?
So, first of all, the presentation stands out a lot to me. Like you said, if you come right out of the gate and you're like, you need to hire me, then it is a little bit off-putting for sure. But I think the best way to do it is just to say, hey, I love fitness and I just got certified. I'm a brand new teacher and I'm really just looking for some opportunities. So even to say something like, if you have available classes on your schedule and you want to keep me in mind, or like if you can keep me in mind for your next audition, or is there any way I can do a free master class for you to experiment with this on your schedule? Also doing your homework a little bit beforehand, because if you come in and you're like, I think PIO would be great on your schedule, and they already have PIO on the schedule, then it's like, well, yeah, PIO is great on our schedule. So like do the homework a little bit and see what they have, because if they do have like, I don't know, let's say a Pilates sculpt class, then you know that the market is already there for something like PIO. And so if you do that homework ahead of time and kind of say like, hey, I saw that you have this class on there. I think this class might be really successful as well. Is there any way I can come and audition for you or do a free master class for your participants? That's going to stand out a whole lot more than just being like, hey, I have this great format. I think it'll be great in your gym, to show that you've put a little bit of time and effort into it, for sure. Sorry, the Group Fitness Minute, I have texts coming from teachers the whole time. So if you hear that, I'm sorry.
The job never stops. There's no 5 o'clock, shut the door. Group X managers around the clock. So I only say that, and this is actually a really great point. Group X managers get tons of emails every day, tons of text messages, and it's usually the last minute stuff like, I need a sub, the mic is broken, there's a complaint, there's da. So when you have this email, it really is important to stand out, because they probably have 100, and that's not even probably even a lie or a joke. It's probably on the small side of the day. Okay, so great. So now they've emailed you, and then they're going to come and either interview with you and or go to an audition. Do you have any tips or anything that you think really stands out when someone's set up a time to either teach a class for you, whether it's free, or whether they're coming to just, team teach with you, and then that way you can see them? Is there anything that you think really stands out when someone shows up for something like that?
Yeah, so if they are going to do a free class, then if they team with you to market it, that is obviously going to stand out, just because if you're actually helping them, then that's going to make them so much more willing to hire you, because you're already showing that you're a team player and that you want to work within the gym. So helping with the marketing is always really, really great. The other thing I'd say, if you're coming in for an audition just to show you what you have, I always say that practice doesn't make perfect, preparedness makes perfect. And so know that the more that you prepare, the better, but that a group fitness class, like anything, is a live format. So if you're prepared, even if you mess up in your audition, you can usually get back on it pretty easily. And that's actually more impressive to a group fitness director than somebody who's like a robot doing their thing, and it's clear that they like memorized every single thing that they were going to say. They want to see a little bit of an organic presence in a teacher, knowing that they can kind of go with the flow and read the energy of class. The other thing is, dress the part. So you're coming in to be a group fitness instructor, so you should look like you're doing fitness, because most likely you're going to have to move if you come in. And so Katy, I think you posted something about this just the other day. Like, you need to wear what makes you feel like you are owning your brand, whatever that brand might be, So like, if you're doing turbo kick, then why not have some turbo wear on, or something that makes you feel kind of funky and has the energy of turbo kick? And the same with every other brand too. If they come in and they look like they own the brand, that automatically gives them a higher status in my mind, and I think most group fitness directors' minds, than if they just come in looking like they could be a participant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that when someone walks in, they should know that you're the instructor, just because of what you're wearing. And it's never one brand per se, but it's got to be that outfit that you just feel like, ooh, I'm ready to rock class today. Like, I feel good. You know, in soccer, we always used to say, look good, play good, feel good. So I think your presence, it's your first visual, like first appearance impression on not just the Group X director, but on the entire staff. Like when you walk in and there's a front desk, what you wear, if they're like, oh, are you here for the group exercise audition? That's a good thing because you should look like you're dressed in the part. So do you think that it looks better if a someone that's interviewing to be a Group X director has an ACER, an AFA, or multiple formats? Obviously, we always want to get started. And if they have, you know, just one, but they mentioned, you know, I'm thinking about getting another one, does that help you out, or does that even play a factor in when you're looking to hire someone?
Yeah, it definitely does. Basically, and, you know, as much as I hate saying this, it's, if you have one format, unless I am looking for that exact format to fill on my schedule, it's a lot harder to get hired when you only have one format versus multiple formats. Now, I will say that ACE or AFA kind of, you can kind of take or leave it with a lot of gyms. Sometimes I'm not saying it's a bad certification, because I think it's a great certification for everybody to have, but a lot of times gyms that aren't really, really corporate are more interested in what you can help the actual class schedule with. So if you have a Turbo Kick certification, but then you also have PIO or Insanity or, you know, a dance format or anything like that, if you have something like that that can also help with whatever else they have on the schedule, they're automatically going to be more willing to hire you, just because that means that you can sub a lot more different formats. And quite honestly, the more you sub, this is another little tip, even if you get hired in as a sub just to kind of get your foot in the door, the more you show you're a team player, the more you sub, the more likely that group fitness director is going to think about your name when they're looking at a class to actually fill. So it is about kind of being a team player. And so, yes, having multiple formats absolutely plays into that. ACE or AFA, like I said, it is a good certification, but I would actually look for more multiple specific certifications before the ACE or AFA.
No, that's really good to know. And actually, it's funny you say that, because I got hired at my very first gym as a sub. And so I was subbing at Pinnacle Health and Fitness long before I ever got a class. And I started with Turbo Kick, and I was just a Turbo Kick sub, then got PIO trained. And it was after months of subbing randomly here. I was always, you know, the number one sub. And I still went to classes. Even though I was a sub, the Group X director made it very clear that any of the group exercise classes on the schedule you are more than welcome to go to, just so people start to get to know you and you're very familiar and you start to be someone that people start to know. So when they say Katy's subbing my class, they actually know who I am. But what do you think about that? So someone gets hired, they're a sub. Do you recommend they go to other classes? Do you recommend that they take classes? What do you think is the best way for someone to really, once they are a sub for you, obviously you just mentioned that they should sub and be the biggest team player ever, but are there other things that you look for?
Yeah, I actually think that what your point making is that's a great strategy, is if you come in as a sub and sub for a lot of people, but also that you kind of are a team player in a way that you go out of the box. So like, let's say that you have a Pilates class on the schedule and you see that it's on the sub list and it's been there for a while, taking the initiative to actually email the director and be like, hey, I don't teach Pilates, but I'm seeing that you're having trouble filling this class. I do teach PIO. Can you maybe replace it with that? And they might say no, of course, but just even taking that initiative and being like, I'm trying to help you out here, is going to make you stand out so much in the group fitness director's head. And it's helpful too. I can't tell you how many classes I've personally gotten doing that thing, where it's been like yoga or Pilates and been like, I can do PIO. And then if you rock it, then they're more likely to keep it on for sure. But also, like you said, if you go to other people's classes, I think that's a great idea, especially for the format that you teach in. If you go into those classes and you talk to them about like group fitness in general, and that you're excited about this and that you're subbing here and they know who you are. Within anything, the more names you learn, the more faces you recognize, the more forgiving everybody's going to be of you. And so even if you come into a class and it's not a perfect class, they know you. And so they're going to like you more than just like Joe Schmo off the street that sub randomly,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're new as well, it helps you get to know the other instructors, so that when they need a last minute sub, they're going to text you or they're going to call you, or even team teaching opportunities when you're still new and you're still trying to get your feet underneath you, to be able to, stand up there and only have to teach one section. Or, this has happened to me. I've had to teach turbo kick, and, I've kind of tweaked my back or done something where I'm like, ooh, but there's somebody who's trained that comes to my class. I'm like, hey, do you want to stand up here and just make sure you do all the high impact? Because I need to take it a little easier today, or vice versa. Maybe I just know that instructor is really great at low impact, and then I can do high, and we can play off each other that way. So I think it makes it, again, all about the community, which is why we become group fitness instructors anyway. So
that's a great point. That is a great point in the way that if you get to know the instructor, that's a good way in, because if an instructor needs a sub and they put it on the board, then anyone can get it, right? But if you can sub that class and you love that class, then I used to do that too as a new instructor, to come out and be like, hey, just to let you know, I'm an instructor and I can sub your class. So if you want to take my number, like anytime you need it. And instructors appreciate that, because they don't want to put their stuff on the board and like worry about it forever. If they know they can count on somebody, they'll call on you before putting it on the board, which means you're going to have more subbing opportunities. And if that instructor ends up giving up that class, they're going to put your name out there and say, so-and-so subbed for me a lot. I think they really like that person. So maybe think about giving them that class, and that'll help you get more classes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know I'm someone who, Group X instructors, we were just talking about this, so funny. But Group X instructors are human. Last minute things come up. We get sick. Our, kids break a tooth, or you get a flat tire. You're in traffic. I mean, it's happened to me where I've gotten stuck in traffic, but I knew someone was going to be there, and I can text them like, hey, can you just warm them up? Like, get them started. Teach whatever you want to teach. I don't care they're around, but just go get them started, and I'll be there as soon as I can, like I promised. So, I mean, that's huge. And I guarantee you those instructors start to be the people that are even telling the Group X director, like, hey, so-and-so stepped in the other day. Like, it saved my class. Like, my class was warmed up. I was 10 minutes late, but, I got to step in right when we were at kicks, or right when we were at, lower body or whatever section, or block 2 in Insanity. But I think just connecting with those instructors right away, because I mean this in a good way, like, you're new. So you do have to take the extra steps to get to know them. And introduce yourself and say hello, and really be the best employee that you can be. I think that, Chalene Johnson taught me that so long ago. I read that, I don't know if you read it, but it was the Rock the House book that Chalene came.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that her very first book before Push and all the big stuff. But I remember that when she has an entire chapter that was about being the best employee, and being the best coworker as well, because you really are coworkers, and it's hard to understand that in group fitness because we never see each other. We just see an email here and there, and we recognize emails before we recognize faces, which is so funny nowadays. But well, those are all the questions I have. Is there anything else you think a new instructor should know about applying to a gym, or any other advice you'd want to give them?
Really, I would just say the best advice I can give you is to practice and be patient, right? So if you're patient, that opportunity will come. And I know that because it's come for everybody. But if that opportunity comes and you haven't been practicing, then you're going to miss that window, right? So I always say, just like keep going at it. Make sure, maybe even carve out some time every week to make sure that you're kind of fresh in your game for whatever you want to audition for, so that when that opportunity comes, that you'll be ready and you'll get the job. Because that's really what makes the difference, is people who are prepared versus people who aren't. And with the patience thing as well, like Katy was saying, we are very, very busy as group fitness directors. If you don't hear from us for a week or two or whatever, it probably has nothing to do with the fact that we don't want to respond to you. It has to do with just that we're busy. And so we do want to hear from you, and every group fitness instructor wants that kind of like fresh young blood in their gym, because we always want to mix things up and make things exciting for everybody. So we do want to hear from you. It's just that if you don't hear from us, don't get worried. Just let it be, and then you'll hear from them soon. The squeaky wheel does get the grease, but at the same time, the squeaky wheel can also be very annoying if you're doing it all the time. So know that if you don't hear from me or for whomever in 2 days, give it about 2 weeks before you send a follow-up email, just because there are so many other concerns. But send that follow-up email and be excited about it, because the more excited you are about it, the more excited we're going to be about you.
Absolutely. I think that's such great advice. And just like Lindsey said earlier, but let's say you do email them, you haven't heard anything for about 2 weeks, you email them again, you still haven't heard anything. Now I need you to go to class. Now I need you to be the person that's like, you know what, I'm going to make this happen, because with that one saying, I think it's, if it will be, it's up to me. And it's not the group exercise director not wanting you, not wanting the format. Whenever I talk to group fitness instructors, I always have tremendous respect for them, because they deal with not just a lot of emails, but it's always the emails of, I need a sub last minute, I can't make this person didn't show up for class, this happened, the mic broke, or this broke, the speaker doesn't work, and you're like juggling all of this, and then you get someone who wants to teach, and you see it, but then someone calls and they need a sub, and you're like on the next thing. So just have a lot of respect, have patience, but I agree with Lindsey, prepare, so that when you do get the opportunity to sub a class, or you get the opportunity to show your stuff, that they're impressed by you. Specifically, if you go to their class, even especially if it's their format, like your Turbo Kick instructor and the Group X director teaches Turbo Kick, when you go, your form better be on par. Like, it better be to the point where if I was walking around or Lindsey was walking around, I'd be like, did you see her in the back? She's got a really good form. Like, her W is like right there. Like, she's good, right? Like, that will help you stand above the crowd. Like, so being prepared is, I think, some of the best advice, because making mistakes, I would be the same way. If someone was auditioning for me and they made a mistake, or they got off the beat, but then they figured out how to get back on the beat, I'd be like, I'm impressed. Like, that didn't phase her at all. Like, she's got right back on it, still teaching. It's all good. So, well, thank you so much, Lindsey. I truly, truly appreciate you taking some time to be interviewed by me today. I hope that this will help a lot of people. So if you're out there watching this, if you have more questions, I will put my email and Lindsey's email in the YouTube information. So you can feel free to email either one of us. Obviously, we are Beachbody Live instructors, so we might be a little bit biased on some formats. But we just want to say thank you so much for watching, and we hope that this helps get you your next teaching job at a gym. Thank you, Lindsey. Have a great night.
Thanks, Katie.